Imagine this moment. You text her. She reads it. And then nothing. Hours pass. Days, maybe. Complete silence. And your mind starts spinning. Did I say something wrong? Is she with someone else? Should I text again? The silence becomes louder than any word she could say. Here's what nobody tells you. That silence isn't rejection. It's not coldness. It's the most powerful form of communication in attraction. And you're misreading it. Everything you think about her silence is backwards. The psychology behind it is darker and more strategic than you realize. And once you understand it, the entire game changes. Let me destroy a myth right now. You've been told that if she's interested, she'll make it easy. She'll text back fast. She'll show clear signs. She'll pursue you back. That's the biggest lie about attraction psychology. Because real attraction doesn't operate on logic. It operates on emotional tension. And silence is the ultimate creator of tension. Your brain is wired to seek closure. It's an evolutionary mechanism. Uncertainty triggers stress responses in your mind. Your brain floods with cortisol. You need to know. You need answers. And that's exactly what makes silence so powerful in the dating game. When she goes silent, your mind enters what psychologists call the investment loop. You start filling the empty space with thoughts, with scenarios, with meanings that aren't even there. You project more onto her silence than you would onto any words she could send. Think about the last time she went silent on you. What happened in your mind? You probably checked your phone 50 times. You analyzed the last conversation word by word. You created entire narratives about what she's thinking. That's not weakness. That's your brain doing what it's designed to do. But here's the dark truth. She knows this. Maybe not consciously, but every woman understands the power of strategic withdrawal. Let me show you what's really happening when she goes silent. First insight, the value frame. When she stops responding, she's not rejecting you. She's repositioning the power dynamic. In every interaction, there's a frame. Who's chasing? Who's pulling back? Who needs who more? Silence is the fastest way to flip that frame. Picture this scenario. You've been talking every day. Conversations flow. Energy is high. Then suddenly, she stops responding. Your immediate reaction? Panic, confusion, need. And in that moment, the value frame shifts. You go from equal ground to emotional deficit. You start thinking you did something wrong. You start questioning your worth. But here's what's actually happening in her mind. She's testing investment, not consciously manipulating, just naturally calibrating whether you're emotionally hooked or just casually interested. Women are biologically wired for selectivity. Their brains evolved to filter for commitment signals. And one of the oldest tests is withdrawal. When she pulls back and you chase, you're showing investment. When she pulls back and you stay calm, you're showing abundance. Her silence isn't about you. It's about reading you. The psychology here goes deep. Studies show that intermittent reinforcement creates stronger emotional bonds than consistent attention. When rewards are unpredictable, the brain releases more dopamine in anticipation. Her silence makes her texts more valuable, more impactful, more desired. It's the same principle casinos use with slot machines. Variable reward timing creates addiction. You're not weak for feeling this. You're human. Your brain chemistry is being manipulated by the oldest attraction mechanism in existence. But knowing this changes everything. Because once you see the game, you can stop playing it unconsciously. Second insight, the projection trap. Her silence says nothing, but your mind says everything. Here's where it gets darker. When she doesn't respond, you don't just wait. You create an entire reality about what her silence means. Your brain fills gaps with stories. It's called narrative psychology. Humans can't handle incomplete stories, so we complete them ourselves, usually with the worst possible version. She's ghosting me. She's bored. She found someone better. She was never interested. These thoughts aren't coming from her. They're coming from your insecurities. Real story. Guy I know was texting a girl. 3 days of silence. He convinced himself she was done with him. Prepared himself for rejection. Created this whole mental reality where she'd moved on. She finally responds. Sorry, family emergency, couldn't text, and everything he built in his mind collapsed. The silence didn't reveal her feelings. It revealed his fears, his attachment patterns, his self-worth issues. That's the dark truth about silence and attraction. It's a mirror, and most people don't like what they see. Your reaction to her silence tells you more about yourself than about her. If you panic, you're operating from scarcity. If you're anxious, you're seeking validation. If you're angry, you're trying to control outcomes. This is where philosophy meets psychology. The external silence triggers your internal noise. And that noise is what you need to observe, not her behavior. Women intuitively understand this. They know that silence forces men to confront their own attachment, their own neediness, their own confidence levels. And the men who pass this test? The ones who stay grounded during silence. They become magnetically attractive because they demonstrate emotional independence. The brain interprets emotional stability as high value. When you don't react desperately to silence, you signal that you have options, that you're not dependent on her validation, that you're secure. And ironically, that's when she breaks her own silence. Because scarcity creates attraction, and you just became scarce in her perception. Third insight, the power of presence through absence. Silence isn't disinterest. It's strategic visibility. Here's something counterintuitive. When she goes silent, she's not forgetting about you. She's making you think about her more. Think about it. If she texted constantly, predictably, always available, where's the mystery? Where's the tension? Where's the chase? Her silence creates space. And in that space, your imagination runs wild. You wonder what she's doing, who she's with, whether she's thinking about you. Every silent hour makes her more present in your mind. This is dark psychology at its finest. Absence creates presence. The less available she is, the more mental real estate she occupies. Your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of connection. When that connection is delayed, the anticipation intensifies. The dopamine response grows stronger. You become chemically addicted to the idea of her responding. And when she finally does text back, that dopamine hit is massive, bigger than if she'd been consistently available. Her silence literally rewires your brain to crave her attention more. Example: 2 girls. One texts you back immediately, always available, always eager. Another takes hours, sometimes days, unpredictable, mysterious. Who occupies more of your mental space? The second one. Every time. Not because you like her more objectively, but because her communication pattern triggers your brain's reward system more intensely. This isn't manipulation. It's just human psychology. We value what's scarce. We chase what retreats. We desire what's uncertain. And women have understood this instinctively for centuries. They know that being too available kills attraction. That mystery creates desire. That silence speaks volumes. But here's the deeper layer. Her silence isn't just about making you want her more. It's about testing whether you're worthy of her investment. When you react with desperation, anxiety, anger, you fail the test. You reveal that you can't handle uncertainty, that you need constant validation, that you're emotionally unstable. When you stay calm, continue your life, don't chase, you pass. You show emotional maturity, self-sufficiency, confidence. And those traits trigger attraction on a biological level. Fourth insight, the communication paradox. Her silence is saying more than her words ever could. People think communication is about talking, about expressing, about saying things clearly. But the most powerful communication happens in silence. When she doesn't respond, she's communicating boundaries. She's showing you she has a life beyond you. She's teaching you that her attention is valuable. She's calibrating the relationship pace. All of that information is transmitted without a single word. And it's more honest than anything she could type. Words lie. Actions reveal truth. Her silence is an action, and it's telling you exactly where you stand in her priority hierarchy. If you're high value in her eyes, the silence is a test. If you're low value, the silence is a dismissal. But here's the twist. How you respond determines which category you're in. Respond with neediness, and you confirm low value. Respond with calm confidence, and you shift to high value. The silence is neutral. Your reaction defines its meaning. This is the paradox of attraction psychology. Nothing is fixed. Everything is fluid, based on how you handle uncertainty. Real situation. Woman goes silent for 2 days. Guy A texts 3 times, calls twice, sends memes, shows frustration. Guy B sends 1 calm text, then goes about his life. Who do you think she respects more? Guy A just showed he has nothing better to do than wait for her response. Guy B showed he has a fulfilling life regardless of her attention. Same silence. Completely different outcomes. The mind works on perception, and silence reveals perception more than words ever could. It strips away pretense. It removes performance. It shows raw reactions. And in those raw reactions, true character is revealed. That's why silence is such a powerful tool in understanding people. It forces authenticity. Women use this naturally. They withdraw and observe. They create space and watch how you fill it. They stay quiet and listen to what your actions say. And the guys who understand this, they use silence too, not as revenge, not as games, but as a tool for maintaining their own power and clarity. Fifth insight, the liberation of detachment. Her silence only controls you if you let it. Here's the ultimate dark truth. Her silence has zero power over you unless you give it power. You create the meaning. You generate the anxiety. You construct the narrative. She's just not texting. Everything else is your mind's creation. The moment you understand this, you become free. Not free to manipulate her back. Free to exist without needing her constant validation. This is where psychology becomes philosophy. The external world doesn't control your emotions. Your interpretation of the external world controls your emotions. Her silence is a neutral event. Your brain makes it positive or negative based on your beliefs about yourself, about relationships, about worthiness. If you believe you're only valuable when she's paying attention, her silence devastates you. If you believe you're valuable regardless of her attention, her silence becomes irrelevant. This isn't about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about recognizing where your power actually lies. In your own mind. In your own emotional regulation. In your own self-perception. The guys who attract high-quality women, they're not the ones constantly chasing validation. They're the ones who validate themselves. Who have internal confidence that doesn't fluctuate based on external responses. And women sense this. They feel it. They're attracted to it. Because emotional independence is rare. Most men are desperate for female approval. The ones who aren't, they stand out massively. So when she goes silent, instead of panicking, use it as a mirror. What's coming up for you? Insecurity? Fear of abandonment? Need for control? Those are your wounds, not her actions. Heal those wounds, and her silence loses all power. It becomes just another data point, not the center of your emotional world. This is the path to real confidence in relationships. Not pretending you don't care. Actually not caring about outcomes because your worth isn't tied to them. And paradoxically, that's when everything shifts. When you stop needing her response, she starts needing your attention. When you stop chasing, she starts pursuing. When you embrace silence, she breaks it. The game flips. Not because you played her, but because you stopped playing yourself. Listen, her silence will always speak. That's just how human psychology works. But what it says depends entirely on who you are when you hear it. If you're insecure, it says rejection. If you're confident, it says nothing important. If you're desperate, it says everything. If you're abundant, it's just a pause. You control the narrative. You write the meaning. You decide how much power silence has. And the moment you stop giving away that power, the moment you reclaim your emotional center, everything about attraction changes. You stop being reactive. You start being magnetic. You stop chasing. You start selecting. You stop fearing silence. You start using it. This is the dark psychology of attraction. It's not about tricks or techniques. It's about understanding how the mind works, how emotions flow, how power shifts. And once you see it clearly, you can never unsee it. Her silence speaks louder because you're listening too hard. Stop listening. Start living. And watch how quickly the silence breaks.